So the planning system needs a few sort of cattle prods.
The planning system is better than it was. We are giving more planning permissions now since a change in legislation in 2011, but the result is that the house building is increasing far more slowly than planning permissions are being granted, and an awful lot of planning permissions are being parked, and these are the phantom houses that I talk about. It's actually Shelter's term. It's something that I've been writing about, making documentaries on for some time, but Shelter have also been examining it. We've now got 1 million planning permissions outstanding in this country. These planning permissions sit on the books of the big house builders, and they're tremendously valuable, not only because they amount to the future ability to buy houses, but also with the big builders taking a lot of planning permissions, it means the small builders can't get them, so they can constrain competition. And this is the problem we have. There are many issues with the planning system. We need to use more zoning, so the rules are less complicated.
So you get the right houses in the right places.
Yeah, as long as you do zoning means as long as you don't break certain rules, height, width, certain specifications that are clear and transparent, then you can build a house. At the moment, every single development has to go through a massive rigmarole of negotiation. It's like a precautionary principle. So yes, more zoning, yes, more planning officers. They can be paid for by the sharing of the planning uplift that I talked about earlier to get the planning system moving, but then taxation and incentives to make sure that if you get a planning permission, it's like a contract. It's not something a big house builder can choose to sit on to thwart local supply. It is an obligation to build. It's a two-way obligation. The state will let you build, but you must build.
But this is all an exercise in taking power away from big, powerful, as you described, vested interests. And you quote in Roger Scruton, who's just been leading, the late Roger Scruton, who was leading a government task force on housing issues, he said that it's, in effect, you're taking on entrenched interests that were very powerful within the Conservative
Exactly right.
the governing party.
Exactly right.
So is it going to happen?
Well, this is an idea, this sharing of planning gain, when the 61 legislation came in, which returned all the planning gain to landowners, there was a housing minister quite soon after that who said that was a mistake, and he tried desperately to convince his fellow Conservative cabinet ministers and to implement the same kind of idea that I'm trying to implement now. And his name, Mark, was Keith Joseph, who's no left-winger, the outrider, the ideological outrider, if you like, for Margaret Thatcher, as he became. So this is not a statist idea. This is what happens in Germany, in the Netherlands, in big parts of America.
So a very quick question, because we are running out of time
across Asia.
What happens if your ideas aren't implemented?
Well, I think there's a good chance they will be. There's an interview in the book with Sajid Javid, who's now the Chancellor, who completely agrees with me that there should be a 50-50 split in planning gain. And if my ideas aren't implemented, it's much, much harder for local authorities to build those council houses that we need because land prices are too high, and it's far, far harder for small and medium-sized builders to provide the homes that can level out prices so ordinary people can afford a place of their own.
Liam Halligan, thanks very much for joining us on Book Talk. And Home Truths is published by Buyback. Book Talk will be back again soon, so do join us then.